So this is the millionth Ben Simmons video you're going to watch today, probably. But anyway, Woj tweeted 5 hours ago that the Sixers and Rich Paul and Simmons are getting close to a resolution for him to come back. I don't really know what type of resolution you need. There's no clauses or non-guarantees or whatever. He just kind of walks in the front door. Did Rich Paul and Ben Simmons perhaps not think this through enough? Maybe they thought the trade market was going to be better. Maybe they thought the Sixers would just fold. Yeah, maybe. There's always the chance of this falling through as well, but as of right now, it seems like he could be back as early as this week, which of course makes the Sixers' regular season projections a lot better, assuming that everybody can be on the same page and all that stuff. I don't know if it's really possible. I don't know how Sixers fans are going to treat Ben Simmons. I mean, we could see him get booed like crazy. We could also see them cheer for him like crazy. It would make sense for Embiid and whoever else to encourage that sort of thing. So we'll see there. I think the next thing is, will there always be the possibility of a trade if Simmons does come back here, right? Whether there's some struggles out of the gate, or maybe even if we fast forward to the postseason and they have a loss that maybe isn't even disappointing. Maybe they just lose to the Nets in the conference finals or round 2 or whatever, right? Would that bring on another whole Ben Simmons saga? I don't know. There's really no telling how to predict this whole thing. I guess the other thing to look at now is just the basketball stuff and how can we see a different Sixers team by the time the playoffs come around. Of course, everybody just wants Ben Simmons to shoot threes, and obviously that would be cool, but I think I've always been on the side of it's more about aggressiveness to the rim, drawing more free throw attempts, developing a floater, maybe a post game. Granted, it's difficult to be a post-up guy when you've got Embiid who also wants to do that, but that would be awesome. Perhaps Doc could find some sort of way to run something resembling a Ben Simmons Embiid pick and roll. I mean, the one thing I've seen them run that I think has had some potential is you run it on the elbow within the three-point line, and it's like Ben kind of starts with his back to the basket, and then Embiid steps up for the screen. It's still a little claustrophobic when you look at it, but I think there's maybe some potential there, because when you run the Embiid Simmons screen from up top, teams just go under the screen so hard on Simmons that it's tough to rely on. I mean, maybe it can still work sometimes, but it's just more difficult. You could also try some more actions with Ben cutting off of Embiid action, whether that's post-ups or action from like the elbows or whatever, because Embiid's mid-range went to another level last season, so teams really stick with him from there now. Of course, cutting off of post-ups, there's a fine line between ruining the spacing and freaking a defense out, and I'm not saying it's easy, but you got to try something here. There's always more of the possibility of Ben setting screens for guys, whether that's Tobias or Maxey or Milton or Seth Curry. Of course, then Embiid has to play off of that, and I mean, Embiid's already said he's had to shoot more threes than he'd like to cater to Simmons, so if there's another option besides that, like, is there a possibility in which Simmons can set a screen for a guard, he can get going on the roll, and then you can have Embiid in the dunker spot? I think there's potential there. The problem, if it is a problem, is that you don't want to have too many plays where Embiid is the one who's the finisher. I mean, he still needs to be your best player and your primary shot taker and all that. The other thing with Ben setting a lot of screens is, how do you deal with teams switching those actions? Are you going to give the ball to Simmons in the post against someone smaller than him? Can he consistently make that guy pay for switching? I'm not going to say there's any perfect solutions here, but I'm trying. But anyway, to think about Philly's place in the Eastern Conference, I mean, to me, if Simmons is going to be back and everything's going to be cool enough, I think they're immediately the third best team in the East, and it'll be interesting to see if they can pull off a trade for someone within the season. I mean, I remember last season I was saying they really need a guard who can run screens with Embiid. I wanted them to trade for Lowry. They didn't end up doing it. I don't know if something like that's going to present itself this season. But to look at their trade assets, they've got their next 3 draft picks, although I don't know if they can trade 2024s because 2025s is locked up in a protection. And in terms of tradable contracts, they've got Danny Green's 1-year deal because it's non-guaranteed after this upcoming season. And then they've got some smaller contracts like Korkmaz, Niang, Drummond. So maybe they can make a move at some point in the year.